welcome back to Chess's Book Nook, or welcome if you're new. So today I'm going to talk about the book series that I've started but I'm just not going to finish. So all of these I've read at least the first book of the series, and a lot of them I've read more than that, but for whatever reason I'm not going to finish them. They just don't compel me enough to go on, and I'm going to tell you why. And all of these are pretty popular series as well. So the first one I have on my list is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. And look, I read the first book, I read The Inheritance Games, and it was fine. You know, it was okay. But it was more YA than I expected. It was, and I'm not saying that's always a bad thing. Like, I do really like some YA books, but this one not so much. It felt very young adult, like only just young adult. I thought this had such a great premise. The idea of having to solve mysteries and riddles and, you know, to get the inheritance, I thought was great, but the execution was just really poor. No, maybe that's too harsh. It wasn't really poor, but it was just okay. It felt very flat for me, but I do know this is a really popular series. I mean, if you're unfamiliar, basically a teenager is left an inheritance by some rich dude who she does not know, and basically, like, they have to take part in these inheritance games. I thought it sounded really fun, and I thought there was going to be a big focus on her, like, solving the riddles, and there was some of that, but not as much as I was expecting. And there was also this love triangle, and I didn't care. I just didn't care about it at all. And also, it was one of those love triangles where it's incredibly obvious as soon as you meet everyone, like, who's ending up with who. And yeah, I'm not here for that. I'm just not. And then, like, the author leaves it on a cliffhanger. And the cliffhanger, the cliffhanger just felt really flat. And again, it just doesn't compel me to continue. Like, I don't care what happens next. So even though there was a cliffhanger, I'm not going to read the next book. And honestly, I can't even remember what the cliffhanger was now. I just remember that there was one. So yeah, this is the first series that unfortunately I won't be finishing. Okay, next on my list is One of Us is Lying by Karen McManus, and I think there's 3 books in this series, and I've only read the first one. It started off really great. I was actually really enjoying this book, and the whole premise of it is that it's set in a high school. There's been a death and you see multiple POVs, and obviously it's called One of Us is Lying, so you're trying to work out who the murderer is, like who has killed this friend. And the whole way through you're trying to work it out, and you know what, I can't say what annoyed me so much about this book and what made me dislike it by the end without a spoiler. So I think this is the only one that I'm gonna have to give a spoiler for, but yeah, here's a quick spoiler warning, so I'll put it on screen. Okay, so this should have been called None of Us is Lying. Okay, none of them are lying. Like, this, to me, like, this title is complete clickbait. like, none of them actually did it. So you're there the whole way through trying to work out who has killed this kid and looking at the different POVs and putting all your clues together. And then at the end it's like, oh, it's actually none of them. Why have you called it that then? Because they're not lying. None of these people, none of the POVs that we have are actually lying. It wasn't even a murder. I had just no impetus to continue at all. That's the end of the spoilers. So yeah, won't be reading any more of those. And again, it's one of those books where I've seen a lot of people who like it, and I don't get how you can like the ending of this book. But you know, that's just my opinion.
You know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Before we carry on, I need to take this cardigan off because it's going really warm. Whew. Okay, the next on my list is, and this is a really popular one, it's the Shatter Me series by Tahereh Mafi, and I don't know how many books are in this series. I've read quite a few of them though. I read the first 5 books, so it's not like I didn't give this series a really good shot. And look, I didn't dislike this series. I thought it was fine. Like, I actually quite liked, I think there was, I can't remember which book it was, but I actually really liked one of the books. Shatter Me, the first book, I thought was just okay. It was kind of like a 2-star book, and then I think the next one was better. It was more like a 3-star for me. But look, I made it all the way up to Ignite Me. That's where I got it to. I made it to Ignite Me, and I'd read the little, you know, the little novellas in between as well. And I DNF'd Ignite Me, and that's supposed to be the best one. And I thought, if everyone's telling me that this is the best one and I still can't get into the series, then it's probably just not for me. And to be fair, I think that I probably was just too old for this series. I mean, yes, you can read whatever books you like, but I just wasn't the target audience. I think I was about 32 when I read this, and I think that the target audience is much younger than that. So maybe I would have liked it more when I was younger, and maybe that's the problem. But I'm not finishing this series. I will say though that I do want to read This Woven Kingdom. I want to read This Woven Kingdom because I've heard that that is much better than the Shatter Me series, as in I've heard it's more new adult than young adult, and hopefully less diary entry meltdowns in it. I don't know. But yeah, I do want to give that a go because I will say that I did think that she was a good writer. So yeah, I will be trying This Woven Kingdom. In fact, my friend V at V's Booknook, she has spoken about this series quite a lot, and hearing her speak about it has really made me want to read it. Okay, next on my list. This one again, it's another really popular one that just wasn't for me, and it is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I didn't like this book. I couldn't get into it. Again, it felt like too young. I will say that I did like that the fae in this were like actual cruel fae, you know, and that they actually had like malice, and they used they're what you would expect fae to be. Like the fae in this book weren't just, you know, humans with like wings, which I appreciate. However, overall, I didn't care about any of the characters or any of the plot. I didn't care about Jude and Carden. I didn't want them to be together. I didn't like Carden. This was described as like enemies to lovers, but I remember reading it and thinking it's more like bully to lover. Like, it gave me the sort of vibes of like, oh, he's bullying you because he likes you. Which is something that someone said to me when I was in primary school, you know, like, and you're like, no, I feel like even at that age, as like a 9-year-old, I was like, but that's not right. And yeah, I just couldn't vibe with it, and I didn't think the world building was that great either, to be honest. And there were some descriptions. There was one description where it just said, but it's a really, really, really pretty sword. I noticed a couple of things like that, and it wasn't for me. Again, I get it's a really popular series, but nothing about it made me want to read, is it The Queen of Nothing next, or is that the last one? I don't know. I didn't want to continue, and I won't be doing. Okay, next on my list is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas, and I will say that I have really enjoyed a lot of Sarah J. Maas's books. So I absolutely love ACOTAR. I think the first book was probably the weakest, apart from that weird little novella. You know, that wasn't great either, but the other 3 books in that series I absolutely loved. And I also really enjoyed the Throne of Glass series. Again, I think it had a little bit of a weak start, but then, you know, got much better as it went. And the world building in there I thought was really good. So I didn't understand when I read Crescent City where the world building was, and why the only bit of world building we got was just through giant info dumps. It was just too much. Like, we would have a character be introduced, and then we would get like 2 pages of like, and here's their childhood, and here's their best friends, and this is what their dad did for work. Like, it just felt like dum 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 dum. Yeah, constant info dumping. There are also like so many different species in this world. Like, there were like aliens and vampires and like, I can't remember now, like fae, obviously, like shapeshifters or something like that, I think. There were just loads of different ones. But there felt like there were no separation between them. Like, angels were just people with wings, fae are just like really hot humans, and vampires are just humans with pointy teeth. Like, they weren't fleshed out enough. And again, like the main characters in this, a bit like with some of the others I've mentioned, I just didn't really vibe with them, didn't really care about them. And the main thing in this was just like, they kept using the word alpha hole.
Ew, David.
Like, what is that? I was reading it and I was like, alpha hole, and it's mentioned like over and over again. And in this one, I know that this was like an adult book, and it felt more like she tried to make it adult by just throwing in a load of profanity and not much else, whereas like Throne of Glass didn't have that, and I thought was like much better. I will say that I'm not really a fan of urban fantasy usually anyway, so this probably wasn't going to be the book for me. And it had some like good elements in it. It's one of those books again where like I can see why people like it, but it wasn't for me. And I also felt like it had no business being as long as it was. Like, I didn't think it needed to be that length. A lot of it felt a little bit drawn out, and the action is all just saved to the end. And normally with Sarah J Maas, her endings, they really get me, and I really think, oh yeah, this is like the endings are great. This one I didn't care. So yeah, I won't be reading the rest of the series. And from what I've seen, I've seen mostly pretty poor reviews, I think, for that. Is it House of Earth and Breath? I don't know, I can't remember the title, but I didn't see great reviews for that one anyway. So this is, yeah, another series that I just won't be finishing. It's a real shame as well, because I actually bought myself a really nice edition of it. I was expecting to love it, like I really wanted to love it. Like obviously when I read a book, I really want to enjoy it. And I ended up selling that special edition because what was the point, you know? So that was a lesson learned about buying stuff too quickly. Another series that I'm not going to be finishing is the Fourth Wing series by Rebecca Yarros. And this isn't because I didn't enjoy Fourth Wing, because I actually did. Like I think I gave it like 4 stars. Like I thought it was a really good time. I did start reading Iron Flame, and it wasn't that it was bad or anything, but I did end up DNFing it. And to be fair, it was a bit of a soft DNF. Like out of all of them, this is probably the one where like maybe at some point I could go back to it, but I can't really see it right now. Basically, it just annoyed me because like the first book it's like enemies to lovers, and then it seemed like we were just going to repeat that for the second book, and I just thought, oh, why have we gone back to this again? And I ended up just putting it down. I just couldn't be bothered to go back through it after we'd kind of gone through all that in the first one. So yeah, this is one that I'm probably never going to finish. I have heard that Onyx Storm is pretty good though. So I don't know, maybe let me know if you think I should continue it, because like I said, I did like the first one. Okay, next on my list I have Quicksilver by Callie Hart, and I've included this because I know that a second one is coming out and I will not be reading it. Is this my most disliked on the list? Oh, it might be. It is. I did finish the other ones, so I guess, because I actually DNF'd this one. I DNF'd it at 50%, and like I hated the love interest in this book. Like I couldn't stand him. Like Kingfisher, I thought he absolutely sucked. And we met, I think it was Carrion, who also sucked. And I was worried that he was going to be the love interest. And then we met Kingfisher, and I was like, bring Carrion back because Kingfisher's even worse. And I don't doubt that he was redeemed in the second half, but he wasn't redeemable in my eyes. There was a scene at chapter 19, something that he said to the main character that I was like, nope, we're done. No. I couldn't stand the guy. I couldn't stand him. I didn't want them to be together. And I left the book before there was like a sex scene or anything, because I didn't want to see her have sex with him. I wanted her to sucker punch him, okay? No. And it was a shame as well, you know, because the first, I think 10% of this book was actually really good. And then it just went into a super generic Fae story, like, oh, she's been whisked off into Fae, and now there's all these things, oh, she's putting a dress on in her room and she's got little missions to do, and oh, there's a love interest who sucks. Like, it went super generic and super boring. Like, I swear, nothing happened for like 200 pages. I couldn't tell you what happened. Like, I read the first bit, and then there was this giant second bit of like nothing, with just Kingfisher being awful. And then, I don't know, there was a terrible sort of dinner scene kind of thing, and then I DNF'd the book. To be fair, of everything on this list, I think I can see why people would like all of them. Like, I get why all of these books are popular, but none of these were fully for me. Let me know if there's any, you know, popular series that you've started but definitely won't be finishing. And let me know if you agree with me or disagree with me, and if any of these get drastically better. Look, I'm be honest, I'm probably still not going to read them. But you know, you can try and convince me if you want to. I could probably be convinced with Iron Flame. I'm not sure about any of the others. You won't convince me with like Quicksilver. No. Okay, so let me know and give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, or you know, a thumbs down if you didn't like it. You know, it's all engagement, baby. You know. I hope you did like it, obviously. And yeah, hit the subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Look, it's completely free, you know, and you get to see me more. So that's nice for you, yeah? Alright, see you soon, bye!